Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer and I'm here every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific time to do your weekly Traversing the Transits. This is where we're going to do readings based on your rising sign. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. We're going to start, me and all my personalities are going to start with Leo and work my way around the Zodiac. If you don't know your rising sign, I would encourage you to go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine that information. So good morning, Margie. I was going to start to name, I almost wanted to name this show Big Hair Horoscopes with Teri Hunter. My hair is pretty big today. Good morning, Scarred Owl. Good morning, Stephen. Good to see you. Good morning, Dusk. Small Wildflowers, good to see you. Okay, so, as I was getting ready this morning, and it's so interesting because so much happens when when my hands are in water, when my feet are in water, when I'm in the shower, it's like I just get pummeled with messages. And I also want to give you a little precursor or see, I can't even speak. I want to give you a little warning. I have not been sleeping lately. I feel like I lay down exhausted and then my brain starts to, I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm, getting downloads, but I almost feel like I am like astrology charts, astrology aspects are running through my brain at night. So I don't feel very well rested. So I'm just going to let you know that I actually have transiting Uranus making a square to my natal Uranus. So maybe that has something to do with it. But let's talk about the general. Good morning, Ava. I've had the strangest songs stuck in my head lately, like Let's Go Fly a Kite from Mary Poppins. God, I really don't know what's going on inside of this thing up here. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about Pluto squaring the nodes because we've talked about it kind of briefly. We talked about it a lot when it was in the Scorpio, Taurus axis. And now here we are seeing the South node in Libra and the North node in Aries. And as I was getting ready this morning, I was thinking about, okay, so now that's squaring Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio. Scorpio sextiles Capricorn and it sextiles Virgo. So I started thinking about this and I'm like, Virgo is the first real experience the human has where they're enslaved to a job or their health, if their health is an issue. And then we kind of go then to the idea of Scorpio ruling, it rules money and it rules people who have dominion over us, situations that have dominion over us. And then we travel into that sextile with Capricorn, and then we see that governmental, authoritative structure. So this is where I'm going with this, because I was thinking, okay, Virgo is service. Scorpio is what's hidden, other people's influence and what's hidden about that influence. And then I was thinking about Capricorn, not only ruling societal structures, but ruling agriculture and food, which then goes back to my Virgo, okay? Because Virgo rules health. Our food dictates a lot of our health, for the better or not. So this is where I'm going with this idea. Because as the nodes have moved into the Libra Aries axis, I feel like I'm being called upon to have a more discerning viewpoint of the information that's coming to me. And that's why I kind of was playing with this idea of, because we have aspects going on in Virgo. Mercury and Mars is in Virgo right now. Venus is having a conversation with Uranus, and ultimately she is growing into a trine with Chiron, the wound. Because where I'm going with this is, I think right now we are all sort of being asked by the powers that be that rule the universe that if we want to claim our happiness, maybe we get to look at that South Node in Libra and recognize where we've been overly cooperative or where we don't want to address something because we don't want to rock the boat and create conflict. And then I think of that North Node in Aries. When I was thinking about that, I was thinking, if this is the moment that the soul enters the physical experience, it's absolutely, there's no experience. So everything that Aries does is some sort of discovery about the self. And within that, there is a clunkiness between, what I determine I want for myself and what information I'm getting that those that are nurturing me through those early tender years. So I feel like I am personally, Teri, being asked to be discerning about all of the input, the things that are being told are good for me, the things that are being told are bad for me, and how am I processing? Where are those Pluto's influence? Where are those other people's influence that sits so deep within me that I don't initially recognize it? Like, where are those defaults? Something is out of balance, and I need to go to someone else who has power to fix that. This really became very powerful for me this morning because I think as we watch Pluto enter Aquarius, we're all going to be tasked to use our individual genius to maybe in some ways liberate ourselves from the information that comes that is just in, almost fed intravenously to us. Because I think this is something, as we pay attention, we're looking at the Pluto being in the master number degrees, right? So we've experienced it at the Leo degree. Now it's retrograding into the Cancer degree. How do I nurture myself? How do I use my own inner voice that says to me, this doesn't smell right. This doesn't feel right. Something's off here. And then we see the nodes at the 27 degree, which is the Gemini degree of information. How do I want to process the information that is coming to me? And how do I want to feel empowered by that, by being Aries North Node, willing to explore and pioneer in new areas that may actually rub up against those that are looking for pre-assigned structures? Okay, so that's what I'm kind of feel like I have like a domino effect is going on here, because as these nodes are experiencing this square, we've seen Venus create a yod with it, or I'm sorry, to join in a grand fixed cross square. We saw Mars do it first, then we saw Venus, then we saw Mercury, all as they transited through Leo. Because now, as Venus is retrograding, she's at 23 degrees of Leo now. That's the Aquarian degree, squaring Uranus at 22 degrees Taurus. And Uranus is going to start to station to go retrograde at the end of the month. So this is really about a discernment. When we think about the idea that Venus rules Libra, and Mars, which we'll get to in a minute, rules Aries, it's like, where can I find the balance between my asserting myself to what feels true to my gut, and how do I create a sense of a diplomatic environment for those who will experience me as I disagree with what they're talking about or what they're coaching me on. Venus is growing into this square with Uranus, it's growing into a trine with Chiron and the North Node. But I want to kind of focus in on Chiron, because Chiron is the wound that is the gift. Pluto transformed creates billionaires and gives us great influence over our own lives. Saturn, when we are willing to persevere through our initial fears and our initial trepidation, Saturn rewards. And I want to kind of task myself to continue to stretch for the flip side of these planets, because I believe that is what they want for me. I've worked at being conscious and aware. I'm not trying to release anything. I'm not trying to work on anything. I just want to be aware in the moment so that I can make a conscious choice that sets a new footing for my future. So I want to offer that because this trine now tells me that I want to be strong in my willingness to see how the disruption, how the wound actually was a requirement and a strong piece of the puzzle in order to create the reward. And while we have this growing trine, we also have Mars at 18 degrees Virgo making a quincunx to Chiron in Aries. This is a sort of an idea where here is this Virgo energy, right? Mars in Virgo. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. I want to move on, and in some respects, it's kind of funny because I feel this energy of Mars in Virgo, like Mars is chasing getting one task done only to start all over again, just to get another task done. And really, it's just an endless highway. And now this sort of blind spot, this sort of, Chiron is tasking Mars in this moment to be present. Mars wants to move. And Mars is in a growing conjunction with Mercury, but I'll get there in a second because I think Mars in Virgo at 18 degrees is an opportunity to look at where I have thoughts that I actually say, well, that won't happen. I can't do that. That's not the rules. That's not how it works. That's not reality. That's not practicality. For me personally, and this is why I kind of like my Aries rising as I've aged, is that I've come to be a little bit more willing to push on the envelope. Before I got lucky, they didn't allow dogs in my apartment building. And I remember sitting here with my cat and saying, well, when you pass on and I move, I'll get a dog. And 2 years later, the cat was still there. I was still here, and we got a dog, and everything worked out. And I started to realize that the universe was working in ways that could break those rules. Pluto and Capricorn right now, squaring the nodes. Do I believe that that's possible? How much time do I even give life to the possibility, let alone defaulting back to the structure I know that tells me what I want is a no? So I think this is very powerful because we go from Mars at the Virgo degree, making a quincunx to Chiron at the Libra degree. So here we see an opportunity for balance. And within that balance, there's an understanding of the challenge of the, a quincunx is where the styles don't match. And you kind of, it's a weird tense thing because it kind of feels like it creeps up on you. Like you think initially you're going to get along, but then you don't. So, and this is my interpretation. So I don't know what the books say. So here, Mars in Aries feels comfortable. There's Chiron, right? And Mars is like, I don't want to look at my wound. I just want to soldier on and move through it. Forget it's there. But yet it keeps tripping Mars up as it's moving forward. So here we're addressing. Now, by the 12th, the end of the week, we have Venus at retrograde at 20 degrees, making a conjunction to the sun. And both of these planets are making a square to Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. Jupiter is stationing to, or slowing its roll. It's about to go retrograde as well. And so is Uranus. So I think, can't remember the date. Oh, I do remember the date. It's September 4th is when Jupiter will go retrograde. And I believe it's August 30th that Uranus will retrograde. And then we've got Mercury happening in the meantime. So the planets are starting to slow. And we have quite a few planets that are in retrograde already. We have Venus. Well, I don't need to go through those. You're aware of those. Because where I think is important is that as Venus and the sun are making a square to Jupiter and Uranus, Mercury and Mars are making a trine to Jupiter and Uranus. So this is real, I think, an opportunity. Venus retrograde at 20 degrees, the Scorpio degree. What is important to me? How do I want to express myself out into the world? How do I want the world to see me? And then at the same time, this the square to Jupiter and Uranus is asking me to liberate myself from some beliefs that hold me, tether me to something that is no longer feeling comfortable. And this, what I'm talking about when I say tether, I'm talking about I can't because I can't, I have to, I can't, I'm supposed to. There's all these human structures that we perceive as blocks, and yet when we give life to the block being removed, not by ourselves but by source, spirit, God, the angels, then we can start to envision a pathway before us that leads us more succinctly to what we want to experience. I think this is really important because when I thought about the idea that Virgo sextiles Scorpio and Scorpio sextiles Capricorn and the way that the natural wheel works, it felt very much as if it was a more it's like these sextiles work in cooperation to sort of tether me to that human experience, tether me to where I need to work because I have to pay my bills. Well, yes, of course, I need to create funds or resources to pay my bills, but does that mean I need to enslave myself to somebody else's agenda? And if I enslave myself to somebody else's agenda, does that give me so much stress and so much anxiety that I'm eroding my own health? Because that's where the sextile to, I'm almost thinking these sextiles can be used in a more challenging way, a dark way, by the powers that be, utilizing these sextiles to stoke their powers, because when we are tethered to other people's money, they have power over us. And then we go into that idea that then there is the authority in how the public sees us and whether or not we are considered a valuable piece of society. So I think these things are coming up, and I want to offer it this way because as we move into 2024, 25, 26, I think we're going to see more people, everyday people, not people who have big titles or a lot of money, having more influence than we have ever seen before. And there's a saying in the Bible, and I'm not really a Bible person, but the meek shall inherit the earth. And I think we're rewriting that, because it's not about being sheepish or small. It's about being authentic to what is true to you. And as we grow in numbers, we will really embrace each other and support each other on platforms that break the time barrier, break the barriers of traditional structure. So, good morning, Lucy Rose. We've not seen you in a while. It's so nice to have you here. Hi, DJ. Hi, Algo Bella. Good to see you. Gita, it's great to see you. Stephen, of course. Betty, great to see you. I hope anybody I missed. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm having really weird. I'm usually a pretty good sleeper, and I got to tell you, I'm tired. I don't know what's going on. I think that Uranus square is messing with me. All right, let's start with our Leos. Happy birthday to my Leos this week. Any of you that are having a birthday, I hope it's a good one. Let's see what your tarot card is. The World. This is a wonderful energy, because the hero that walks through the major arcana, the journey of the hero, he's actually experienced all of the elements here. He's walked through the element of fire, the element of air, the element of water, and of earth. And there's an understanding of the secular nature, and therefore there's an opportunity to actually create reward. One of the things I've noticed as the South Node is transiting my Mars, although last night when I was sleepless and people were chatting under my window, it might not have been true, but for the most part, I've been much calmer about things that in the past, if they pissed me off, I would be more vocal about it. But I've sort of, at this point, thought, really, do I want to go down that road? Do I want to have that conversation? Do I care enough to blah, blah, blah? And the awareness of that has felt a little bit comforting and a bit of a relief. So I think that there is the potential for you to experience a reward of some kind as a result of the journey that you've been on. Now, this Venus retrograde, I personally do not think is a negative thing. I think it's a fabulous thing that Venus is spending 4 months in the sign of Leo. I think it's about garnishing my courage, connecting with my heart, assessing what works and what doesn't work, where I have been operating on imprints and patterns that I'm not even aware of. And now I'm willing to love on myself enough to say, I don't know if that works for me anymore, or I don't know if that's really makes me happy. I think this is a beautiful thing. And in doing so, there will be reward on the other side. And reward is not always a big bank account. Reward sometimes is the courage to create a big bank account. All right, let's see what the angels have to say. Did I mention I'm doing big hair horoscopes today? I think that's kind of funny, even though I'm too tired to laugh. All right, we have we have Akasha in the foundational position for Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have Azure in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Teresa in the angel's advice. And in the final position, we have victory. Ooh. So glad that I didn't fall on the floor. Yeah, I was thinking I looked a little bit like Sammy Hagar this morning when I was getting ready. Okay, Akasha is being joined by the horse. Azure is being joined by the perception card. Teresa is being joined by the Bee card. And Omega is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. This is really fabulous for my Leos. Again, happy birthday for you having your solar return, but this is also applicable Leo rising, Leo moon. And if you have a stellium in Leo, this is very powerful because really you are learning a lot and have an opportunity to garnish rewards about your beliefs. And, it's sometimes it's difficult with the fixed signs because they're sort of sandwiched in the middle of each one of their quadrants, not a lot of wiggle room. It's kind of like the middle seat on an airplane. I think that's why they can feel a little pinched sometimes. But here, I think what Spirit is saying is that Akasha has been teaching you as Venus has been retrograding your first house about your belief system. And again, this is really not about villainizing your belief system. It's about an awareness of it and just kind of assessing whether or not it's still working for you. Because here's the perception card. Couldn't be more connected to our beliefs. This feels like Sagittarius to me. And then Azure is saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And it's funny because force is really a word that humans think, well, I'm not forcing anything, but I got to get up and I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to figure out this and I got to figure out that. That's force. Sometimes when we go back and we just assess, what does that reward feel like? What does it feel like when I feel the flow of what I want? Because right now, the angels are saying for my Leos, to be aware of your energy. And if you're worrying, you're actually putting your focus in an obstacle, in a sense of doubt. And that doubt is, thoughts are things. And our thoughts come out of our mouth in the form of our words. And those create a ripple effect because this is so wonderful. What does Leo represent? Courage and leadership and self-expression. It is on some level the most vulnerable sign of the zodiac because it puts itself out on the world stage and says, do you like me? And a lot of people say no. It's not easy. But here, there's victory for you, Leo. And when you have the courage and the self-respect to understand that you don't have to please all the people all the time, just please you. And if you build it, you'll bring in the people that respond to your creativity, to your endeavors, to your sense of entertainment. The Lady of the Lake is always sort of a war between my mind and my emotions. And here's my truth in the middle. When you look at the card closely, you can see that she's holding this sword with the lightest touch. And this is why it's not being blown away. She's understanding this is part of the human experience, but I must be steadfast, have fortitude for my truth. And in doing so, there is victory. So there you go. All right. On to our Virgos. I bought a new hair product and I tried it this morning and I have to say I really like it. It is, I don't know. We'll see if I did a good job. Sometimes one day it looks good. The next day it has a whole different idea. But when it's this humid, there's no point in even trying to blow dry my hair. If y'all remember Rosanna Dana, Saturday Night Live, because that's what it ends up looking like. I'm so tired. I'm weird. I'm slap happy tired. Like, I don't think I could actually go back to sleep, but I'm sick of this. Okay, are we ready for our Virgos? The King of Wands. And the first thing I thought when I saw this was, look to your future. Look to what you want. We have Mercury and Mars transiting your house right now, Virgo rising. We also know that your seventh house is Pisces, and Saturn is retrograde in Pisces right now. I believe Saturn's at 4 degrees. And, Saturn's always going to throw realism on everything, at least realism from the human structure initially, before it digs deeper into the energies of Mount Olympus. Because I feel like when I look at this king, it's about maybe even taking a little bit of a step back to look towards what you want in your future. And when I look at I think it's a chameleon. I don't think it's a lizard. Oh, maybe it's a gecko. It kind of looks like the Geico gecko. And I think geckos represent joy, but there's something about this. It's a very Sagittarian energy. So I think there's looking to the future, reassessing things for yourself that, if we think about it, Leo is your 12th house. So you may be, thinking about some ancestral type of beliefs or beliefs you had at some point that while some of it is still relevant, maybe you're tweaking things. I almost feel as if the nodal structure in the Aries and Libra energy is going to move into the Virgo Pisces energy in about a year and a half. And so whatever you're garnishing in your second house of Libra and your eighth house of Aries is offering you an opportunity to look to the future in a new way. We're looking into some sort of transformation for you that's going to be a process. It feels like it's a gestation period of some kind. And I want to offer this too, because Virgo by nature ruling the house of service to others, and ruling health. There's a lot of things in that house that can feel a little bit tenuous, that we're like, oh, but it also rules good health. It rules personal trainers and nutritionists and health coaches and people who treat the body through natural medicine. It's an earth sign. So I just want to kind of offer that because I feel like you're rewriting some sort of story in your head. Okay, let's go on. I haven't looked up any animal totems for a while, so I think salamander has some sort of, it's like in the chameleon family, isn't it? Or the Geico family or gecko family? Geico. See how branding brands our brains? See how they use a little animal for insurance, and that's how I refer to it? Oy, I'm kind of tired of the branding. All right, here we go. Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Seraphina is offering a change in addition to the family. Sonia is saying that you're being watched over by those that are out of body. We have Azure here saying your desired outcome is coming. And then we have Layla, which is another card of contemplation about what it is that you want to experience. We have the perception card joining Seraphina. We have the mystery card joining Sonia. We have Azure being joined by the burden card. And we have Layla being joined by the goblin. Okay, so let's kind of revisit Virgo in the sense of, if indeed you are experiencing the opposition to Saturn, never easy. Not easy. In Pisces, you know that you're experiencing the conjunction now. But I want to offer it this way because Saturn rules history, and this King of Wands is asking you to look to the future. So if you're looking to the future based on your story, it could be a little bit of a challenge, because here the happy change to the committee in your head because we all have a committee in our head, Virgo, and you're ruled by a sign that rules the mind. There's the perception card. So as you become aware of the beliefs that you've had, and not try to criticize them, judge them, fix them, release them, but just be aware of them so that you can say, is this work for me? Because your guides are offering you an opportunity to make choice. And I want to offer it this way because it's not a choice that is in the immediate future. This little critter right here, whatever this is, wherever he's looking, is not feel like it's sitting. This smallness of this makes me feel like this needs to grow. The way he's looking out makes me feel like he's contemplating a journey. And I believe that this might be a little bit of the challenge for the Virgo right now, is truly being able to see how to get from point A to point B without dragging everything that came in A with you to B. Because as you're saying, your desired outcome will happen in the near future. And then there's this burden card. And I felt almost as if maybe you're having a little bit of a hard time, and Saturn might be affecting you because of the limiting feeling of Saturn, the restrictive feeling. It's depressing sometimes, and it brings up the old story. And humans don't bring up the old story, the fun old stories. Oh, I was so great then. I was so great then. No, in our minds, we're like, oh, I didn't do that. And oh man, I was poopy over here, and I was kind of cranky over here. We do a lot of that. And Virgo, one of the things, because you represent the perfection of something, it wants to perfect something. And a happy Virgo is one that knows that perfection is fabulously flawed. It's never the destination, it's always the journey. And that is where the perfection lies. So here, now we have Layla saying to talk to God, right? And there's the ego edging God out. So somewhere you're getting caught between your belief in what can happen and that you're being watched over by God and the angels, and then the practical application in the material world. And I feel as if this could be an opportunity for you to use that energy to connect to how it feels when you're experiencing the things that you like or you want to, and then starting to open a space and literally say to the universe, all right, give me a sign, give me an omen, lay down a paver for me to walk on in this direction. I am an earth sign. I connect in an earthly way, because I feel as if you start to make this sort of, I kind of want to say to the universe, I'm putting my order in, and now I'm looking for you to give me those signs and omens and where to go with inspired action, because that, I think, will be what changes your perception. I don't think it can just happen up here. Mercury has too much information to settle. One thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought, leads to another thought. And very rarely does it just settle in. We see settling in much more with the Sagittarian energy, because we're digesting philosophies and ideologies and wrapping our head around them to see if they resonate with us. But Mercury's not there to assimilate the information. He's there to dispense it. So here, this might be a little bit of the challenge for you. And with Mars and Mercury in your house, first house, and what are they doing? They are making a trine to Jupiter, your beliefs, and Uranus, your genius. Also, Uranus is the higher level of Mercury in thought. So you might find yourself contemplating things, and yet at the same time having a little bit of trepidation and fear about them. So don't jump into action. Wait for inspired action. Okay. Inspired action, you'll feel it. It always kind of feels exciting. Stephen, you're funny. My hair is always on top of my head in my sleep, so it's a big ball knot of yarn. Okay, Libra, how are you enjoying the South Node going through the house of your first house? Okay. Ooh, how fun is this? The Empress, Venus. So here it is, relax, because I really want to offer this for my Libras. We talk a lot about the South Node being a point of loss, a point of erosion, a point where the dragon is excreting something. But this could be something toxic. It doesn't have to be everything. So what that might be for my Libras is your over cooperation, You're Mr. or Mrs. Nice Nice. You're, I don't want to rock the boat, so I'll just kind of suck it up and not, put my wants and my needs out there. This does not really serve anyone. I think oftentimes when we have trepidation about our own needs and we're looking to others to fill those needs, or we're looking to our partners for that connection or exchange, we inadvertently lather ourselves up into a resistant energy of thinking we're not going to get what we want. And I think the Empress is asking you to sit back, to relax, to receive, to be sort of the master, to hold the magical wand and be the authority here. And if well, everything is very lush within this picture. It's very powerful how the crown is full of stars, and it's a bright yellow color, which is the sacral, the solar plex chakra of power. So her power lies in her calm, in her willingness to receive. She's sitting back on this red pillow, and that red pillow has not only a red pillow, there's also a lumbar roll, and there's a blanket, all of the base chakra. So the more she relaxes into this, the more she is comforted. So let's look, Libra, where we're going. As a late born Libra sun, I have, as I said, Mars is at 27 degrees. So not only is Pluto squaring my Mars, I have the South Node conjunct my Mars right now. And to me, this has really been an exercise and an opportunity to look deep into my personal imprint, to look at my righteous indignation, because when I think I'm right, holy crap, look out, especially if I'm mad. And now I'm learning how to use all of that energy and power in a more constructive way. When to say yes, when to say no. Isaiah is saying to Libra, it's time to give birth to new ideas. Athena is asking Libra to assert themselves lovingly, because loving assertion isn't really assertion. It's enrollment. It's inspiring. Caress is giving you a new happy chapter, and Oceana is not only filling your heart, but giving you a sense of connection to your inner being. Isaiah is being joined by the letting go card. Athena is being joined by the protection card. Caressa is being joined by the fear card. And Oceana is being joined by the swan. I very much think this is an opportunity for Libras to start to connect with the idea that harmony is not sitting up on a cloud somewhere where there's no obstacles and no challenges. I think this is really an opportunity to sit in the ebb and the flow of awareness that oftentimes the things that seem the most disruptive and annoying are the very exciting things as we overcome them, or we walk through them with awareness and we're triumphant over them, that give us that feeling of power, of control, of influence over our own lives. Because the letting go card for me is that from the song Frozen. You guys have watched me for a long time, so it's funny how some distance makes everything look small. And the fears that once controlled me, the fears of rejection, the fears of not being good enough, not being beautiful enough, not having nice enough things. This is very Libran. And now it's time to give birth to new ideas, because as you relax and sit in this Venusian energy, now let's say this, because Libra is, let me think, Leo rising, where am I? Libra rising, hello. Leo is your 11th house. So this you could have trepidation about how you'll be received in your network, or about your hopes and your dreams. The 11th house is also a house of money, an Upachaya house, because as you lovingly assert yourself, there's a sense of protection, but it doesn't come from source energy protecting you. It comes from your own awareness and your calm about how you're expressing yourself. It's almost as if you're expressing yourself without giving somebody an issue or blame. And there's like you're in the Switzerland of your issues, because we see the fear card again, and there's Caressa saying that fear, it's coming to an end. The chapter of being gripped by fear. This This does not mean you'll never walk through a fear bubble again, but it means you'll understand it more clearly and more through the wisdom, through eyes of wisdom. And you'll seek out what fear offers you, which will create more happiness for you. Because Oceana is saying to Libra that you're being called forth to trust an inner calling. And you're transforming more and more as you listen to that inner calling. Today, for some reason, as I see the swan in the water. I see Oceana swimming up through the water. So the swan is still, in some ways, walking through the transformation. It hasn't taken flight, but it's willing to. So I think this is super, super powerful for my Libras. We have a long journey through the South Node through Libra. And I think that this is really an opportunity to connect with your team, your guides, and your angels in order to feel a sense of purpose through this transit. Okay. Well, at least Mercury is a fast-moving planet. But Mercury and Mars coming together makes me think I have angry thoughts. I was, and being judgy and critical. And I was that last night while I was trying to sleep and I was so tired. And I'm like, damn, how can I be so tired and not fall asleep? And I'm out of melatonin, which kind of pissed me off. And I tried to call the supplement company and they're retarded. And now I'm mad at them and I want to be all stubborn and not call them anymore, but I love their products. So I'm stuck in a big crazy place. My point is this: last night, when I was aware that Mercury and Mars were starting a conjunction, they're starting to hang out together, I saw my thoughts. I saw the planet that rules me. And I'm like, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And then I was watching this TikTok. This lovely woman, 97-year-old Grandma Ruby from Canada, passed away this week. And before she passed away, her granddaughter was asking her what the secret to life was. And almost every question she said, I learned to keep my mouth shut. And I sort of laughed. Okay. I did laugh. All right. Sorry if I'm a little funky. Remember, I'm tired. Okay, Scorpio, let's see what's going on. Ooh. Here's a nice card of worry. And I want to offer this because this Nine of Swords is really a huge projection into the future. It's a huge projection into all the bad things that could happen but have not happened. If you look at the swords, they are all on that wall, and they're not just up on the wall, they're intertwined. So they're up there securely. They're not going to fall off. And then if you look closely, you see in the orange, the ghosts, the little warring guys underneath. That's the psychology that's going on. This is the unconscious. And the power lies as you rest your head. So let's see, Scorpio, what's going on. Because, you're ruled by Pluto. Pluto has been making some, having some very intense conversations. And Pluto feels like, as the nodes have gone through their cycle, Pluto is the one running the show. Pluto is the one holding court. So first Pluto was saying to the nodes, how do you use your skills? How do you allow other people to be powerful over you because they have the money or they have what you don't have, or, all those eighth house things. And now, once we've established what that information is, now Pluto's saying, so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to give up your power? Are you just going to continue to be overly cooperative and in some ways dismiss yourself, or are you going to assert yourself? And that question may be driving Scorpio crazy because you may be afraid of repercussions in some way. And I'm not sure they will be there. And when we think of the number 9, it's the culmination of a cycle. It's an opportunity for us to go into the 10 energy, which is a 1, being aware of my thoughts. All right. Where is this worry coming from? Confusion. Merlina is here. Then we have Archangel Uriel, frustration. Then we have Daniel, the angel of marriage and partnership. And then we have Francesca. Okay. Well, that wouldn't be, with Venus retrograde, a lot of people might be experiencing a little bit of challenges in their relationships. A review. Merlina is being joined by Merlin. Okay. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the hawk. Daniel's being joined by the dog. And Francesca's being joined by the eagle. Okay, Scorpio, I'm going to say it. I love you. I love you. I love you. Because I love you and your cap, my caps, right? I know it's not easy to be a Scorpio, but sometimes in order for there to be justice and balance, we have to get out of the story and into rising above the story and what is the long-term goal. Because I have frustration right here, and there's my worry. And here is the hawk asking you to look above the situation, to have a broader view of the situation. And if you're angry at someone you love, or you're frustrated with someone you love, or you're wondering about a relationship with someone you love, and you don't know how to express yourself, being overly assertive in this moment may not be the way to go. In fact, it is not the way to go. I believe that what Spirit is saying is to remember that you love this person and to allow yourself to communicate from that place while standing in the vibration of your truth. When I work with people, I do work with couples. And when I work with them, I often say to them that, when you're in an argument, sometimes one of the best ways to diffuse it growing is to say, I love you. I don't want to be in this disconnection. Where's the bridge? And it brings us back into a consciousness. Because Scorpio, what do you visualize right now? Negativity is blocking your progress. And here is the eagle. The eagle is your totem. We don't talk about that often with Scorpio. We think of it as a scorpion, but the eagle is an ancient totem of Scorpio. And what does an eagle do? It is the royal bird. It flies high above everything else, and it has sight beyond, the mundane. That's the way I want to put it. And that's where the clarity will come in. So if for some reason my Scorpios are in a disagreement with someone they care about, whether it's a relative, a loved lover, or a loved one, being able to bring your truth to the surface versus your anger, frustration, or what's been done wrong. Focusing in on the solution versus the problem. I think we'll start to see a shift here. Again, I think sometimes that Scorpio is so really sensitive. And I don't mean that in a weak way. I mean it in a way where, because you rule so much of what is unseen, what is considered hidden, you have a great awareness of subtle shifts in people's energy. And because you rule criminal behavior in the dark side, sometimes you can go and think it's the dark side, and it could be nothing really bad at all. It could be something like, I got in a fight with a coworker and I didn't want to tell you about it because I didn't want to ruin your day. But your partner's walking around acting funky. So when you come up in a way that's balanced to clarify your confusion, how can I help you? How can we create some better situation? You'll start to feel better about things. Okay. Let's go on to our Sagittariuses. Thank you, DJ. Okay. Sagittarius, your card is Temperance. The thing about this card is so interesting because it represents balance, and yet the character does not look like balance is easily sustained here. The way one foot is sort of on what could be a slippery rock, the other's in the water, and yet there's flow and the concentration of flow. So what I see here for my Sagittarius is okay, so there's also this little road back here. Do you see this little road heading over the hill? This is in order for you to get past the circumstances with which you stand. It's an opportunity to focus in on the flow. And when I see this sort of triangle here on the heart chakra, today it sort of looks like let your heart be the base. Let your heart, regardless of circumstances, be the truth with which you speak, because then you will find the illumination that temperance has to offer you. And if you think about the idea that the wings are red, this is Archangel Gabriel, this is where your true base chakra lives, in allowing for the flow, not looking at the circumstances, and allowing this to be the leader to your kingdom. I hope that made sense. It made perfect sense to me, and I've never seen that card that way before, which I kind of thought was fun. Because when you look at what is, and when what is not satisfying, it kicks in the laws of attraction, which then kick in more opportunities for you to see what is not satisfying. So if you notice, Temperance's eyes are closed. Do you see that? So not looking at a situation, but allowing for flow. All right, Sagittarius, Opal is our first angel. Omega is our second. Our third is Isaiah. And the final is Archangel Gabriel. Sorry. Now, we know that Jupiter is about to go retrograde. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and is the ruler of your personal chart. So I want to offer it this way, because as Venus and the Sun this week make a square to Jupiter and Uranus, there's also Mercury and Mars making a trine. So this could be a little bit of where Temperance is coming in for balance, where there could be a situation that initially feels tense and uncomfortable, and almost maybe like people aren't seeing you for who you are or what you're trying to say. And then, as you kind of relax on that, Mars and Mercury end up creating a dynamic between Jupiter and Uranus that sort of brings in something that might help clarify your viewpoint. That's what I think is happening. Opal's being joined by the protection card. Omega's being joined by the high priestess. Isaiah's being joined by the queen. And Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the love card. Okay. So remember what we were talking about. Temperance is not looking at the situation or the precarious balance with which they're standing, but rather the eyes are closed, trusting the flow, and that there are wings, angelic wings, that are offering me protection. And here is the protection card, and Opal saying that God is watching over you. You are a child of God, and you're being cared for by God. I want to offer it this way, because for my Sagittarius, you do rule the connection to the angelic realm. So your connection this week to spirit is where the victory lies. I almost feel as if there is no forward motion for you right now, and yet there will be forward motion. So if you're having an issue with finances, Venus, partnerships, professional or otherwise Venus, or even friends, female friends, then you could sort of, by having this, adopting sort of I'm just going to breathe through it right now, you may find the solution comes to you, because here's the queen in the angel's advice. Here is Isaiah offering protection while new ideas come in. And those ideas come from spirit and from us. I feel like meditation would be good for you this week. I feel like connecting with your team will help ease whatever situation you're walking through that is in some sort of gestation period. There's something that is growing that you can't see, and you may feel a certain, anxiousness to get physical evidence of what's happening, but the baton has been passed to spirit, and the source energy is putting the components into place, because Archangel Gabriel is asking you not to be insecure and to trust love, and love is to trust the flow. So here we go. For my Sagittarius, is to round this up, I want to offer it in a way that gives you an opportunity to sort of consider that action is no action. I'm sorry, no action is action, meaning not trying to push or force against something to make it happen, but understanding there's an ebb and a flow to everything, and you will feel an inspiration when it is your moment to go back into your personal flow. But in the meantime, whatever you need in the way of resources or in the way of feeling safe or secure on the planet, it will be provided for you. And I really do want to sort of offer this for my Sagittariuses. If you get any sort of I don't know, I hate to use the word downloads. It sounds so I don't know. It's just too foo-foo for me. But if you get any inspirations, any sort of weird symbols in your mind, paying attention to the signs and the omens, telling spirit, if I'm interpreting this sign correctly, I want to see it 3 times or a version of it 3 times. And I think that will help you feel that sense of flow and that sense of, okay, I don't need to necessarily take action. This might be a good day for me to actually relax. Maybe, spirit is encouraging me to relax because things are about to get busy, busy, busy. And I will have appreciated that I chilled out for a while. Okay. On to our Cappies. Oh, the Piscean cup of love. This is so fun for my Caps. This is a very simple card. This young page is offering his cup of love. He's offering his bounty. He's offering his heart. Let's look and see where we're going here. If we think about it, Capricorn has experienced Pluto already in these late degrees. And I always think that when we experience a retrograde, we're, again, obviously reviewing something. And the review does not necessarily mean we are looking for holes. It doesn't mean we're looking for problems. It doesn't mean we're looking for what the hell didn't we do right. Sometimes the review is what did we do right? What did work? Where can I sit and pat myself on the back so when the planet moves forward, I can take even greater advantage of its energy? Venus is exalted in Pisces, and this is a very Pisces energy for Capricorn. So I'm thinking maybe you might be feeling a little more love bubbles around you. Maybe you're feeling, a little bit more the baby goat than that adult goat, and you're ready to put that, foot forward more often than you're that obligated one. Let's see where we're going. Layla's offering contemplation. There's romance with Chantal. There's Serena and the angel's advice. And then there is Vanessa. Faith or fear? Pardon me. Layla's being joined by the B card. Chantal's being joined by the Truth card. Serena's being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. And Vanessa is being joined by the Death card. I really believe that this is an interior job for my Capricorns. I feel like the last, pardon me, my throat. For my Capricorns, I really believe in the transformation of my baby goats. I feel like this is you looking at more of the lighter side. What's fun? What do I love? What brings me bounty? What brings me joy? And then I see here victory in the form of the bee as I connect to spirit with what I really, really want, which is to allow for the reward side of Saturn. Saturn is always going to be Saturn. And if you're a Capricorn, you're always going to be ruled by Saturn in this lifetime. So the focus on the reward, the focus on what Saturn did for the golden age, how he provided tools for mankind, and we are headed towards a new golden age. So here you have an opportunity to rewrite how people see your leadership and see it as more loving. And through that love, it provides bounty and sustenance. And here you can sit in contemplation of how that really feels, because Chantal is the angel of romance. And then I got the truth card, and I felt like this is who you are. You know, when I think about Saturn and I think about Capricorn, oftentimes the people that implement the structural rules that we are breaking right now, they're not doing it just to have dominance over us, but because they think it's best for us, or how we will have the most secure journey in this life. And now, as you have rewritten your own story, you're stepping into your own truth of how it feels to live a loving life, how it feels to live in a life that sees, people and opportunities and wants to give. I feel like there's an invitation for bounty. I mean, I see that fish and I can't help but think about Jesus and how he fed, all those people with just a couple of fish. Here, I feel like that's what Capricorn's doing. It's starting to stand in leadership for its bounty, because here is a sense of serenity as Capricorn walks through this rebirth, this rewriting of who and what you are. This is the beautiful side of Pluto. This is Pluto in those last degrees, where you're mastering what my thinking. And the mastering is not wrestling your thoughts to the ground and trying to make them perfect. It's the grace of awareness. I am aware this thought doesn't work for me. Oh, wow, I can't do anything about it. Oh, well, I guess I'll give myself grace in this moment as I unravel this habit, because I really believe this is the death of your fear and the beginning of your faith. When we look at Vanessa, she is not a sheepish woman. She's very Xena warrior princess. And this card says where you're going to make your decisions based on faith or fear. And now you're making them based on what you love, and the kind of love you want to extend to others, inviting them into this warmth. Not because you're doing it dutifully, but because it's almost like you're inviting them to your table to enjoy a meal. And this awareness brings victory. Very exciting. All right, on to our Aquariuses. My mattress isn't the problem. I don't know why I'm not sleeping. It just feels like it came on like this whole week. I'm so tired when I lay my head down. I feel like I can't even stay up another second. And then a minute later, I'm like, it's driving me nuts. Oh, look at our Aquariuses. This is a beautiful energy. This is our chariot. It rules Cancer. If we look at it carefully, we see that this is an energy that depicts movement, but there's no actual movement within the card. The chariot is stationary. We see the wheels are yellow and a bit orange. So the wants and desires of our charioteer are being fueled by those wheels. And there's a polarity. We see that with the Sphinxes. But this card, more than anything, represents the sign of Cancer. We see that his armor is on his shoulders, these crescent moons, whereas where his protection comes, he's got the canopy of stars, and the victory comes. There's also, if you notice, there is this cement chariot is blocking his sacral chakra and his base chakra. So as this is sort of blocked off, the human part of his energy is blocked off, and he is being tasked to use his higher vibrational chakras in order to create movement and understand the duality of the human experience. So let's see where we're going for our Aquariuses. Oh. Oh, I'll be back. Oh. All right, let's see how this worked out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, okay. I'm just going to turn those over. Let's see. We have the angel Ariel, the angel Aurora, the angel Athena, and Archangel Uriel. Okay, so again, Aquarius, we have movement without physical movement. Ariel is being joined by the bear. Aurora is being joined by the spider. Athena is being joined by the communications card. And Archangel Uriel is being joined by the wasp. Okay, I want to offer this for my Aquarius rising. You've got Venus traversing your seventh house of partnerships. And I want to offer it this way because something is happening that is outside of your awareness. And I think that you want to move the story forward in a more succinct and obvious way. And that's not going to happen, at least this week. So as you sense, if you give a little bit of grace for the journey, because here is Ariel saying that new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself. And now it's time to tell a new story. While the bear oftentimes for me rules history, it also rules poetry, it rules music, and the enchantment of storytelling. So while you're in this holding pattern and things aren't necessarily moving forward as quickly as you'd like them to, I think it's important to start to tell the story of how it feels once the victory has been achieved. Because Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend. You will soon inspire others. And whatever you're creating will get into the web and it will stay there. Now, I think that this is important because this could represent a creative project that you're birthing on the World Wide Web, and you rule technology. But whatever it is you're endeavoring, there's a certain amount of patience with the process. And I don't say patience in a way that I want you to hold your breath as much as understanding an ebb and a flow. You know, Athena is saying it's safe for you to assert yourself, but this is in a communications way, which I think is self-talk. Because again, I have to go back to movement with no movement. Something is not actually physically happening yet, but the charioteer is ready to move when the time is right. Because I think you could potentially be frustrated and maybe even finding yourself a little bit out of sorts because you want to move the story forward. Now, your ruling planet is coming up on a growing square with Venus. This is going to, Venus is at 23 degrees of retrograde of Leo, and this is where it's growing into. And then Uranus is at 22 degrees Taurus. It's going to move to 23 degrees before it retrogrades. So Uranus is going to sort of stay, at this degree, and Venus is going to sort of hover around it for a while. And it may really rub up against, you knowing what you're worth and yet not feeling like you're getting the applause of the audience, validating that. So I think it's important for you to give yourself a little bit of grace, give them time to catch up. When I think of Aquarius, I think in some respects that you can think so fast that you could be light years ahead of everybody else. And that might also create a wee bit of impatience. So do your best this week to maybe even do some sort of physical exercise to burn off whatever frustration that may be. It could be, Dan. All right, let's go on to our Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Werewolves of London. All right, here we go, Pisces. Oh, we have the Justice card. Now, this is very interesting because when I look at this, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to be in court. I think I'm being tasked to look at things realistically and fairly and to weigh the evidence. Let's see where we're going. Because Virgo is your seventh house. Mercury and Mars are traversing through Virgo right now. So this could create arguments with siblings, arguments with workmates, arguments with your partner. Francesca is about visualization. Layla is about intentions and perception. Mystique is about endurance and perseverance. And Oceana is about your inner knowing. Francesca's being joined by the Earth Fairy. Layla's being joined by the Dragon. Mystique is being joined by the Grail Knight. And Oceana is offering or being joined by the Bee card. Okay. When I look at this, I feel as if Pisces is also a house of health. Oftentimes we think of it as mental health, and it's a house where we don't feel seen. Sometimes we feel a bit invisible. It's also a house of great fantasy, dreams, creativity, spirituality. And I feel very much that the Justice card is tasking Pisces with a bit of discernment this week to really start to. Francesca's about negativity, and then this is about grounding, and about physical health. But I actually think this is about Saturn potentially asking you to take a realistic look at whatever it is you're creating, whether it be relationships, jobs, your relationship with your body. As Saturn traverses through Pisces, it's going to ask you to give up some of the habits that might be eroding your health, or habits that, have been refining your youth. But as you get older, your body might not be able to be as resilient, because here is the power and strength card. And I can't help but go back a little bit to this physical health card. And there's Layla connecting with spirit in a calm way. And I want to offer it this way because your thoughts contribute to your health as well. So if you've been under stress, there's a weird feeling with this Justice card of not just assessing, but being fair. Like I feel like when I'm looking at it, maybe Pisces isn't being fair to themselves. Maybe they're being too hard on themselves. Maybe they're expecting too much of themselves, or to pick up more of the load, because when I look at Mystique and the Grail Knight, I think they're asking you to keep charging ahead for what is super important to you, not to let circumstances or other people's opinions thwart what it is that's important to you. Because in the final position, if you trust your gut, and I kind of feel like trusting your gut might also be trusting your gut about how you're fueling your gut and what you're eating. There's something about that Earth Fairy today that's making me feel like, Pisces rules the fluids of the body. And when we're congested, this is a buildup of fluid. So if for some reason you're feeling, congested, or you're having trouble feeling motivated, I feel like there's a little bit about bringing that back into balance. I want to offer this too. The more you dig into the realm of spirituality, the more you meditate, the more you connect with the truth of who you are and your inner voice, the more sometimes the outside influences of certain foods that are truly, nutrientless, that are actually erosive to the physical experience, will start to bubble up a little bit. They'll create an issue, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an issue that's monumental. It brings in an awareness, and as you address the awareness, the body will calm itself down. But I do think for Pisces, there's something about pay attention to what it is that you are ingesting that's contributing to congestion, mucus, a bottleneck of some kind with the fluids of your body. That's the way I want to put it. Okay. I don't know where the Justice card comes in, but it feels like balance. It doesn't feel like a lawsuit. It doesn't feel like it's about a relationship. It feels like it's a relationship with yourself. All right, my Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay. This is a fun card. The Eight of Swords. This is a card where, again, we sort of see this Temperance feet. Do you see her feet? How she sort of looks like she's on tiptoes. One feels like it's in water. One is on land. If you look at the things that are binding her, they're very loose. They're very, she could wiggle out of these things. And yet this the swords always represent struggle and strife as a result of my thoughts. So there's a part of this energy where this woman feels entrapped by her circumstances, about her view of her circumstances. She can't quite get out of this prison of thought in order to travel to the kingdom. She can't quite connect to her emotional body. She's vacillating back and forth between what feels solid and what feels not solid. So this could be Chiron. Chiron has just recently gone retrograde. It did it the same day as Venus did. And I find this very interesting because Venus is in a trine aspect to Chiron throughout the whole retrograde. And here we are in two fire signs, two signs that represent me, my individuality, how I express myself. And, you know, while it's fun to express ourselves, it's not as much fun unless there's an audience to applaud and to support our expression. So let's look. All right, here we go. Aries, rising moon, sun and stelliums. Our first angel is Archangel Michael. The second is Astera. The third is Akasha. And the final is Shanti. Archangel Michael's being joined by the raven. Astera's being joined by the butterfly. Akasha's being joined by the dragon. And the stag is joining Shanti. You know, Aries, when I look at this, I almost feel now when I look at the spread attached to it, Aries rules swords. You know, Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars rules weapons, swords, things, surgical instruments. And so there's an interesting part of me that feels like when I look at this Eight of Swords, as if Aries does not know how to separate themselves from the sword energy. And Archangel Michael is asking you to have the courage to actually recognize that it isn't until you see yourself and your thought process as part of the story, you've got to fly off the story. And I want to offer this too, because I am a strong Aries rising, meaning I got an anger ball inside of me that can blow up at any time. I got tons of you done me wrong stories. And Aries rules resentment. What is resentment? It's never letting go of something. It's never incorporating it into wisdom and moving it forward. So now I think Archangel Michael is asking you to transform your wound into the gift and to be brave enough to do it. And it doesn't mean you're not right about the wound. You could be right all day about the wound, but is it making you happy? Because frankly, I'm tired of being pissed off. I'd rather be happy. So here, reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, Aries, and watch yourself see the beauty. Watch yourself blossom. I have found myself when I've been running errands lately, as I walk into town, I kind of chant, happy people see happy things. Happy people look for happy things. And I almost feel as if there's a duality in any given situation. As I gaze out, I can see a bit of mayhem and disruption, or I can see the beauty of what is around me. And I feel like just having this wherewithal, this awareness is helping me to get out of the wall of my own thoughts, because I am being taught, Aries is being taught something about calmness, something about the power of decisive action versus reaction. Because now I feel like Aries is turning into the peaceful warrior. I don't know if you guys ever read the book by Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's a beautiful book. And I feel as if this is what the transformation has been. And as your ruling planet is going through Virgo and is meeting in a conjunction with Mercury, and both those two planets are now trining Jupiter and Uranus, there could very well be a pop in the way you're thinking. And you're like, oh my God, I get it. Now I can make all of this I can transform this. This becomes the platform with which I stand on wisdom. So as a peaceful warrior, I've been in the land of chaos and disruption, and I know what it feels like, and I know how to skirt around it. So that's what I think is happening. And being Aries, I feel like that's what's happening with me too. Really getting much better about picking my battles. I lose myself every once in a while, but I don't lose myself as far down as I used to. Carlos Santana, love that. Love that man. All right, love his music. I should say I don't know the man. Okay, Taurus. Let's see what's going on for you, my Taurus rising. Ooh, Taurus always likes to see money coming in. This is the beginning of something coming into the material world. And this character feels very light on his feet about it. Feels like he's pretty excited about it. Let's look and see where we're going. Because your ruling planet is in Leo right now. And while Leo makes a square to you, you know, that could be the tension between the history of what you've believed about your skills and your talents and your craftsmanship versus actually putting it out onto the, you know, on the stage. Sometimes that stage only has an audience of one, by the way, meaning you and yourself. So, you know, if you're a writer or if you're someone who creates in alone, a painter, a sculptor, whatever, I feel as if, you know, that's part of allowing yourself to look at what you've created and be excited and proud of it and see it as a viable avenue moving forward. So here we have Shanti, the angel of peace. We have Omega, the angel of victory. We have Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Oh my gosh, maybe I am going to win the lottery, small wildflowers. And here's Astera saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. I got myself scratcher fever. I think it's kind of fun lately. I watch my financial vibration. And the Page of Pentacles is a little bit money. All right. Shanti's being joined by the Earth Fairy. Omega's being joined by the Stag. Azure's being joined by the Fire Fairy. And Astera is saying being joined by the Risk card. We don't naturally think of... you know what, Dan? I'm sorry to interrupt myself right now. I don't want to win the billion. Don't even buy a ticket, because I got to tell you, that's a job, and I don't want a job. I just want to win like 20 million. If I win 20 million, I'll get 10 million. If I get 10 million, I know a little animal rescue that we're going to create, buy a couple houses for a couple of us, and live out our lives the way we want. So that's what we're shooting for. The billion just seems too much for me. Too much work. I don't like money that much to play with it that much. I just want to spend it, collect it and spend it. Okay, Taurus. Shanti is giving you a sense of peace as you walk your earth. And I want to offer this because there will be a flow of resources for you. This has been something that the North Node has been offering you for the last year and a half. Jupiter clearly offers expansion. And even though Jupiter is going to go retrograde in a little bit, September 4th, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a loss. It is a review on our expansion, on our belief of our expansion, and now taking a stronger stance within your emotional body for what it is that you want to experience. That's the way I'm putting it. Because here is Omega offering victory as you take leadership for what it is you want. And I think that leadership is using your skills, using your own talents and gifts. Because Azure is saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. And then there's the Fire Fairy, optimism. And I want to offer it this way because sometimes when we are in the beginning of an endeavor that we don't know how it's going to play out, and we're kind of walking through this journey of faith and fear, faith and fear. This journey has a lot of gifts, because as we walk through each fear, we become more comfortable, more sure of ourselves, more steady on our feet as we risk bigger and bigger versions of our own life. So here's Astera saying to Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stellium, reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, because they're possible, but it can't happen without you risking it. And the risk is to believe in a peaceful journey. That's the way I want to put it. So I think that there's going to be the potentials of and I hate to use the word money because it feels so limiting. Oftentimes resources can bring in things, services and other things that help secure and move our stories forward. And we don't necessarily think of them like that off the top of our head. Okay. That's what I don't want as a money manager. I don't want somebody calling me and talking to me about investments all day long. Not interested in it at all. Could care less about it. I just want the money in the bank and my little accountant, and that's it. I'm pretty sure I could get by on, if I won 20 million, that would be 10 million. If I won 50 million, it'd be 25 million. I'm not interested in winning $1 billion. I just don't know why. It literally feels distasteful to me. It feels like creepy crawlers will come out of the woodwork. Everybody, you suddenly get on somebody's list and you be people calling you all day long, hawking you for money with sad stories to tell you. And nobody would like me because I would say, well, your sad story is your point of attraction. But we will win some millions. Don't want to discount us all the way. Okay. So now we're going on to our Geminis. Gemini, this card's not an easy one, really. It's the Ten of Swords, and it's a super dramatic card. It's like somebody's just, a little over the top here. And, as I look at it, there's really only a very small bit of blood in this card. And I'm not even sure that it is blood, to be frank. It might just be the cover here. Do you see this little right here where there's this little bit of red? It might be this blanket here that's just wrapped underneath this guy. But more than anything, I want to note that there's no blood coming out of the various swords. So I'm wondering if, well, let's look and see, because it almost feels like maybe your brain is going zzz, 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 zzz. Now think about it. If Mars and Mercury are coming together, I felt like I had warrior thoughts yesterday. I was laying in my bed trying to sleep, desperately wanting to go into that coma sleep where you wake up and you're like, oh, that felt good. It didn't happen. And then the people talking, and they weren't even talking very loud. I was like, oh, and in my head, I'm like, shut up. They'll go away in a minute. 8, 9, 10 of Swords. It's kind of like those higher degrees of Pluto squaring the nodes, focusing in on our thoughts. What are we thinking? Because these thoughts of worry don't serve us. And it's not saying that we don't have a road of physical, a journey of manifestation, but oftentimes the human does not really put any emphasis in their point of attraction, in their thoughts. This is something that the Aquarian age, aka Pluto moving into Aquarius, is going to shift very dramatically and probably pretty quickly within 5 years. Okay, Gemini, we have Daniel, the angel of marriage. We have Rochelle, about following your heart. We have Xana, which is about protection. And then we have a healing in the form of Archangel Raphael. If you think about the real next frontier is not necessarily out in space. It really is the mind. If we think about how much we actually access the mind. I watched this whole, I love my History Channel, and they did a show on Edgar Cayce. And I was listening to it and I'm fascinated. Of course, he's a Pisces, right? And then I go look up his chart, and he's got a stellium in Pisces in the 8th house. He's a Leo rising. and he had Uranus at his MC. I'm like, this is fascinating. And I'm working on some client charts right now, but I would love to dig into some of these clairvoyant charts and actually look at the degrees and the layers and the galactic center points, blah, blah, blah. As I bet you, I mean, he was fascinating to me. Okay, Daniel's being joined by the love card. Okay, Gemini, here we go. Rochelle's being joined by the Queen. Xana's being joined by the Joy card. Okay, don't freak out about the Venus retrograde. Yes, he does. And oh my goodness, Gemini. You know, if things have been kookalicious for Cocoa Puffs, it's I think it's coming to a little bit of a moment, because Daniel is being joined by the angel of love. Now, Daniel represents our history, okay? He represents our impressions and experiences of partnership. And I really want to offer it this way, because marriage we always think of as an intimate situation. But when we work for an employer and we spend 40 hours a week, oftentimes we spend more time with them than our actual physical partner. So I want to start to rewrite a story for you that wherever you're spending time and whoever you're spending time with, you're going to love it. Because as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, rather than your head that's telling you a lot of bad stories right now, something's coming to you. And I want to offer it this way, because there may be such a momentum. I want to say it's kind of crazy, but when Mars was going through your first house for 7 months, it was disrupting something. It was kicking something up. It was breaking ground in some way. And I think you personally are going to start to feel more, meaning Gemini, more rewards from this transit. And I do think that Saturn's in your 10th house, if I remember correctly. And that could bring a real change in your work status that is for your benefit, because you're being protected. And there is the Joy card. And in the final situation here, the final outcome is the healing and the loyalty. I don't know if I think this is about love per se. Maybe some of you are in relationships and there's been some stresses. If so, it looks like things are going to work themselves out. But for some reason, I want to go with Gemini to your career. And I want to say that if there's been drama or disruption or, a little bit of what feels like chaos, amongst the clowns, that somewhere this is going to calm down. And I think you're going to either find a new position that you love, or you will retain the environment you're in, but it will be a better environment, or you'll be more valued within the environment. That's where I'm going. Okay. On to our Cancers, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I got to tell you guys, I've been working on a chart, and the client called me and said, "Oh, the time is off by a few minutes." It was 15 minutes. And it didn't change the chart at all, really, except the house structure. And I got to tell you, it was fascinating to me, because I was going down a certain line of thought with the chart. Because, there's so many meanings to different things in the same house and same sign. And this even more, when I found this, it was so powerful. So I really want to encourage y'all, when you look at your natal charts, look at that house structure. Look at the largeness of certain houses or the smallness of other houses, the degrees of the cusps and what they represent, because you'll start to see themes revealed through these things. And I find it so fascinating. And I literally, I think that's partially why I'm not sleeping, because I think astrology is zooping around in the back of my, what is zooping? What is a zooping? I've never heard of a zooping. Where did that word come from? Zooming, souping, I don't know, around my head. All right, Cancer. Okay, another little bit of a challenging energy. This is the card of sorrow, the 5 of Cups, because this character is focused on what is not versus what is, meaning what has been lost versus what is still here. So let's look and see where this is about, because for me personally, as I've experienced what I like to call divine disruption, it has afforded me great reward. Years ago, back in 2003, I lost everything I own when I moved back to California from North Carolina. And that was also when I found my apartment here by the beach. and I've been here 20 years. So that initial loss brought me great bounty and benefit, but the journey was not easy. And I really had to I had to really, I hate to use the word had because it feels so Saturnian. But when I think back and I reflect back on my line of thought, everything that I experienced was a direct result of my line of thought that was going on for 2 years. So before I lost everything I own, where the moving van was stolen, I had been spending 2 years saying, I'm sick of everything. I hate my life. I hate everything. I just want to wipe the slate clean and start over. And that was why I moved to North Carolina, to try to start over again. Big, big, big do-over. But what I didn't know is that when I lost everything I own and once again experienced my co-creation through my line of thought, it liberated me. And Cancer, there's an opportunity for liberation, because if you're looking at something through your eyes, you're not trusting where your cup can be filled. Let's see. I have the most, I really just, I sometimes wonder about me and my aging process. I can't decide if I spend too much time alone, and that's why sometimes my words are all jumble bumble, or if I'm just losing my mind. It might be the latter of the two. All right. Azure is saying that your desired outcome, Cancer, is happening in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. Then we have Crystal. Things are happening that you can't see. Isabella saying the timing is right to be happy. And up until now, conditions have not been favorable. Azure's being joined by the Power and Strength card. Crystal's being joined by the King. Isabella's being joined by the Restriction card. And Desiree's being joined by the Love card. All right, my Cancers, God bless you so much. You know, sometimes your inner knowing doesn't speak loud enough for your liking. And I say that because this card, if you look at the head of this character, there is illumination to be had. And it's not the color of one of the physical chakras, but rather the color of spirit, the color of what we call heaven, clouds. So here, I think that within this, there's an opportunity to actually, here you are, through your loss, something will rise beyond your awareness right now. When I lost everything I own, I had no idea how freeing it would be. I had no idea that people would show me so much. Strangers would give me things and show me a sense of grace and kindness that I was not used to. And that really carried me, you know, the kindness of strangers. I remember the guy, the maintenance guy at the place in North Carolina, when they found out I lost, him and his daughter found out I lost everything I owned moving back, they sent me a huge care package with like little tchotchkes for my new apartment and some clothing, because she worked at one of the retails, like the Gap or something. So sometimes, Cancer, in the midst of a loss, we can feel the most love. So here, a sense of calm right now as you're about to experience something you can't see, because here, I think it's justice. I think this is something that this is about energy you can't see. It's about having faith in a future that hasn't materialized. And this is what you've been, I hate to use the word working, but it's what you've been experiencing. And if Pluto, in its opposition to your house, has, you know, once again reared its little head from underneath the, you know, the darkness of the floorboards, there's a reason for it, because there is something good that's happening, and spirits put you in a bit of a pause so that you can have this awareness that's being offered. And I do believe that the awareness might come from you just becoming aware that I'm always kind of looking at what isn't working versus looking at what is. Earlier in the broadcast, I said that my new line of thought when I'm walking and doing my errands is happy people see happy things. And I see myself looking towards who's laughing on the beach, who's enjoying the surf, are there dolphins out there, versus maybe looking at people who are screaming because they're homeless and they're on drugs or whatever, because they're both things are here. The polarity is here, because Desiree is telling you that there will always be conditions that will be challenging. And now it is your opportunity to look towards what feels like love. And as you experience that over and over and over again, you will find your focus is bringing in more energies that feel loving or feel enjoyable or feel exciting and new. So while this starts off with a little bit of a challenge, and we do have squares this week, we know we've got Venus in a growing square to the Taurus energy, which is Jupiter and Uranus. We know we've got Mars and Mercury coming together in Virgo, which can make your thoughts a little bit judgy. And they could be judgy towards yourself. I should be here. I should have made this money. I should have met this person. I should da 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 da. And all of that is kind of putting you behind an 8 ball of unhappiness. So I want to kind of offer you the idea of maybe if you walk around and you say, you know what, happy Cancers see happy people. Happy Cancers feel love coming towards them and don't have to seek it out. So I think this is important because love is not just intimate love. It's not just the love of the people in our families. It's the love of a kind act. I'm going to kind of wrap up the broadcast with a little story. I'm always walking, I don't have a car, so I'm never in a car. And there's a gentleman who has some kind of car that's big enough to live in. It's a kind of a van car. And I was walking back from the market and there was a dog bed on the sidewalk. And I immediately thought it was going to be a pit bull. Okay. I just assumed a lot of times you see a homeless person and they have a pit bull and you just don't know whether the pit bull is going to like you or not like you. And so I walked up with trepidation and the guy came out of the car and he was so nice. The minute I looked at him, I started hearing in my head the song, What If God Was One of Us, just a slob like one of us. And I engaged in conversation with him just briefly, and he assured me that his dog was benign, etc. Then I ran into him another time, and I was with Lucky this time, and we interacted. And I really believe that this gentleman is a very high vibration while he lives out of his car. And how he's showing up and what he's doing and how he's interacting with some of these people here in Laguna is very interesting to me because our initial impression would be, oh, he's homeless. And I don't know if he's homeless, as much as I believe that I see a man who's made a choice to represent something that feels very light, meaning it's of a light energy, it's of a divine energy. So it's been my privilege and my pleasure to watch this man get a job at the Starbucks at the market and to see people start to respond to him in an elevated way versus in a way that, sometimes we look at the homeless with scorn, So it's been a very, very warm and uplifting experience, and once again reminding me about my own sense of perception and my initial reaction when I view something with my eyes, and then the privilege of having spirit give me a different impression or give me a different story. It's been a really wild time for me lately. I feel like I'm two people, sort of. One is out there somewhere and one is trying to live here on the planet. Okay, that's it. It's kind of energized me a little bit, but I might have to go take a nap before my afternoon clients. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, my wonderful team, for doing the timestamps. So look in the timestamps for your sign. Again, look for your rising and look for your moon as well. The moon is super important. And we'll be back next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you'd like to get a reading with me, I'm available for both angel readings and for astrology. And I'll see you soon, everybody. So peace out. I'll see you on the flip side.